Hi Yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach, and today is our last scrap happy crochet pattern for 2022. But don't panic, we've decided to continue our scrap happy crochet along through 2023. We just have so much more yarn to get through and so many more fun projects to complete. So today's video, I'm going to show you how to crochet the Scrap Happy triangle scarf. And I just grabbed some of my Vanna's Choice, and I'll talk more about yarn in just a second. We did use a medium weight number 4 acrylic in a bunch of different colors, and we even used different striping as far as the amount of stripes just to make it fun. I also used this great big fun button, and I'll tell you about those as well. So I just love this scarf. You can wear it as a scarf with the point in the front. You can wear it as a ponchette with the button on the side and the fun little edging at an angle. You can also wear it and just wear it like this, crossed across or pointed across with the point in the back. So it has lots of different ways of wearing it. Now it measures approximately 40 inches wide from point to point on the top, and it's about 22 inches long from the point up the back. So it's not great big. If you want it bigger, you can just continue on with the two, because it's a 2-row repeat with increases on every row. And you can just continue on with that to make it as big as you would like. And you could make it actually into a full-size shawl or wrap by doing that. So again, it's very versatile. I think you're really going to enjoy stitching up this pattern. It's a very simple pattern. We're stitching a row of half double crochets in the back loop only, and then we're stitching a row of triples, and we'll alternate those 2 rows, increasing every row. And that's where it's super easy to adjust sizes. Just keep your tape measure handy so you can make it the width and length that you want. But keep in mind also, as you increase width, you're also increasing length. All right, now you can find this complete pattern on my blog with lots of pictures and notes. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So the yarn I used was some Vanna's Choice yarn I already had on hand. This is a taupe mist, a purple mist, pink mist, orange mist, and this is called seafoam mist. It's a light green. They also had some other shades, but these are the ones I have on hand. And again, the purpose of our Scrap Happy is to use yarns we already have in our yarn stash. They're all acrylic yarns and medium weight number 4. And so you can just get in your yarn stash and put together whatever colors that you would like. And if you have these, you could use these as well. Ombres, striping yarns, variegated, solids, mix and match those up and come up with some really neat colors together. Now we're going to be stitching with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you're going to need about 9 to 10 ounces of your yarns. Forgot to give you that. In total, 9 to 10 ounces. All right. Now the button that I used is this big flower wooden button. I don't know that it's actually wood. It actually looks like polymer clay. I purchased these on clearance at my local Hobby Lobby last year. So I don't know if you can find these, but I'm also trying to use up my button stash. And so this came in a 3-pack, has these great big holes. And I found these over in the sewing department. I know sometimes, like at Joann's and Hobby Lobby, I'll go over to the scrapbooking department and find some really cool buttons. But this one I found over in the sewing department. It's 2 inches. It's a nice big flower shape. I really love it. And when I'm doing a scrap happy project, I love to use buttons that look like wood or are wood because they go with everything. And that's the button we're going to use today. Again, we're using an eye hook, a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle to weave in your ends, and of course, a pair of scissors. For today's project, our triangle scarf, we're going to be working from the top and working our way down. So we're going to take our yarn, make a slip knot and chain 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle, so we'll put our yarn over our hook and pull that through. Now we'll tie that stay knot that will keep it from coming undone. If you prefer to use the magic circle or another method to make your circle, you certainly can. We're going to put our hook in, pull up a loop, and we're going to chain 4. This chain 4 counts as a triple crochet. We're going to stitch 2 more triples. And then we're going to stitch 2 more. 2 wraps, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through the third 2. So at this point, our chain 4 counts as 1, and I stitched 4 more, so we have 5 triples. We're going to chain 2, and now we're going to stitch 5 more triples in this chain 5 loop. You'll also notice I'm stitching over that tail of yarn, and that's so I can close up that hole later. So there's 1, 2, 3, whoops, there we go, 4, and 5. And so I have 5 triples, chain 2, and 5 triples. And this is the way that row 1 should look. This is the top back of our scarf. All right, so we have 5 triples, chain 2, and 5 triples. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to turn our work, stitch a triple in the same stitch or the first stitch, and that's going to give us an increase by 1. Then we'll stitch 1 triple in each of those next triples. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go to the chain 2 space and stitch 2 more triples. 1, 2. We'll chain 2, stitch 2 more triples in that chain 2 space. And that brings us to the other side. So we're going to stitch a triple in the next 4 and then 2 in the last. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 in the last. 1 and 2. We're going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so we increased by 3 on each side. We increased by a triple here and here, and then we increased by 2 on each side here. So we have 8 triples, a chain 2, and 8 triples for row 2. Looks like I took out a couple of my chains there. Let's get those back in there. And then we have a chain 4. And this is how row 2 should look. Now we're ready for row 3. And row 3 is basically just a repeat of row 2. We just have more stitches. All right, so we're going to triple in the same stitch as our chain 4. Then we'll triple in each of the triples. And this brings us down to our chain 2 space, and so we'll stitch 2 triples, 1 and 2, and chain 2. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on each side, because we'll repeat this on the other side. We increase by 1 at the beginning because we stitched a triple and the same stitch as our chain 4, and then we added 2 triples in our chain 2 space. All right, we chain 2, and now we're going to stitch 2 triples in that chain 2 space. And then 1 triple in each of the triples going up the side till we reach that last triple, and we'll stitch 2 triples in that last stitch. And it's not till row 5 that we begin doing the alternating stitches or alternating rows of half double crochets and triple stitches. This just gives us our beginning base, I guess you would say. All right, I'm to the last stitch, so I'm going to stitch 2 triples in this last stitch and then chain 4. Alrighty. So for row 3, we have 11 triples, chain 2, and 11 triples. And then we chained 4 because we have one more row of triple stitches before we do the alternating rows of half double crochets and triples. All right, so let's do row 4, which is again a repeat of row 3, only we have more stitches. So we'll triple in the same stitch as our chain 4. We'll triple in each of the stitches till we reach that chain 2 space. I stitched a triple in the same stitch as my chain 3 and then 1 in each, and now I'm at the chain 2 space, so we're going to stitch 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 triples in the chain 2 space. And now I'll just continue to stitch a triple in each of these stitches up and 2 in the last. I've stitched a triple in each triple till I reach the last stitch, and I'm going to stitch 2 triples in this last stitch. And instead of chaining 4, we're only going to chain 2. We have 14 triples, chain 2, and 14 triples for row 4. And we only chain 2 instead of chaining 4. Now, if you are not changing colors, go ahead and do your chain 2. But I've decided I want to change colors, so I can show you how I do that. So I'm going to take that chain 2 out, cut my yarn, and bring in my next color, which is this pretty purple. And then I'm going to chain 2. The reason we do that is because our chain 2 counts as a half double crochet. So we're going to turn our work, and we're going to be stitching 1/2 double crochet in each of the triples, working in the back loop only. We want to increase at the beginning and 2 half double crochets in the chain 2 space, chain 2 and 2 half double crochets. All right, so our half double crochet, we're going to yarn over. We're going to go in that first back loop and stitch a half double crochet. So if you look at the top of your work, you'll see you have loops on the front and loops on the back. On this row, for our half double crochet rows, we're going to be only stitching in the back loops. And so for row 5, we still increased by 1 because we chained 2, which counts as a half double crochet, and we have double crocheted in that first back loop, and then I have double crocheted in the next. So we're half double crocheting in each of the back loops, working down to our chain 2. And you'll know you're doing it right if you see this ridge right here, because these are the loops we didn't stitch in. I've half double crocheted in the back loops only up to the chain 2 space. So now I'm going to half double crochet 2 times in the chain 2 space, chain 2, and then 2 half double crochets in the chain 2 space. All right, so now we're going to work our way back up this other side, and we're going to stitch a half double crochet in each of those triple stitches, working in the back loops only until we reach that last stitch, and then we'll work 2 half double crochets in that last stitch. So I've stitched back up. You can see that ridge there. Here's my last stitch. So I'm just going to stitch 2 half double crochets in that last stitch. And because we're going to alternate with a triple row, half double crochet, triple row, I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now when you change colors, you will have some weaving in to do, but you can see how that ridge looks really nice. So for row 5, we have 17 half double crochets, chain 2, and 17 half double crochets, and we chained 4. And for row 6, we're basically going to repeat what we were doing up here. We're going to triple in the same stitch as our chain 4. Then we'll stitch 1 triple in each of the half double crochets. We are not working in the back loops only on the triple rows. And we'll work our way down to that chain 2 space. So I've stitched a triple in each of my half double crochets, working down. Remember to stitch 2 in that first one. And now I'm going to stitch the 2 triples in the chain 2 space. Chain 2, and then 2 triples in that chain 2 space. All right, and then we just go back up and work 1 triple in each of our half double crochets and 2 in the last. And you can see how quickly this project will work up because you're doing triple stitches, and we're going to alternate with those half double crochet stitches, working in the back loops only. It makes a really nice texture, but not too complicated. For row 6, you're going to have 20 triples, chain 2, and 20 triples. And we're only going to chain 2 because we're beginning our alternating rows of half double crochets and triples. All right, so we're going to turn our work. The chain 2 counts as our first half double crochet, and we're going to half double crochet in that first back loop, and then again we're going to half double crochet in each of the triples, working in those back loops only. And just so that you understand, this is going to be the front of your work, where it shows that indentation on the rows where we stitched in the back loop only. This is the front of your work. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the triple stitches, working in the back loops only till I reach that chain 2 space. 1 half double crochet in the first stitch where I stitched my chain 2, working in the back loops, 1 half double crochet in each stitch across. This brings me to my chain 2 space, so I'm going to stitch 2 half double crochets, chain 2, and 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2, and then we'll just repeat working back up this other side, stitching 1 half double crochet in each of those back loops, working up to the last stitch, and then 2 half double crochets in that last stitch. I have completed row 7. We stitched 2 half double crochets in the first stitch, then we stitched 1 half double crochet working in the back loops only, then 2 half double crochets, chain 2, and 2 half double crochets. Then we worked our way back up this side, ending with 2 half double crochets in the last stitch, and then we chained 4 because we're going back to our triple stitch row. All right, and then we'll do it exactly the same way. Again, the only difference is we have more stitches. Oh, and on row 7, you're going to have 23 half double crochets, chain 2, and 23 half double crochets. All right, so we're going to triple in the same stitch as our chain 3. Then we'll triple in each of the stitches. And remember, on our triple rows, we are not stitching in the back loops only. We're only doing that on our half double crochet rows, because now we're going to be alternating for the rest of our project until we reach the trim. We're going to be alternating the half double crochet rows and the triple stitch rows every other row. Now, I did not work in the color changing rows because, of course, that's up to you. And I did mine sort of random anyway, just to use up the yarn that I had and to make it fun. I stitched 2 triples in my first stitch, 1 in each of the next. Now I'm to my chain 2 space. I'm going to stitch 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 triples in this chain 2 space. All right, so now we're going to work our way back up this other side, stitching a triple in each half double crochet until we reach that last stitch and stitch 2 triples in that last stitch. I have completed row 8, and for row 8 you should have 26 triples, chain 2, and 26 triples. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to continue to repeat row 7, which is your half double crochet in the back loops only row, and row 8, our triple row, and you're going to continue to repeat these 2 rows 7 more times, which is actually 14 more rows. But you're going to repeat this 7 more times or more if you want your scarf to be longer and wider. Remember, the more rows you do, the wider and longer your scarf becomes. So we're going to repeat row 7 and row 8 7 more times. You're going to increase by 1 at the beginning and end, and by 4 in your chain 2 space. 1 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 1 here. All right? Once you've repeated row 7 and 8 7 more times, that's going to get you up through row 22. That's going to get you the length and the width of 40 wide and 22 long inches. All right? Now, I'm going to show you how to do the ending, the trim, on my swatch. But it's done exactly the same, no matter if you added more rows to make it bigger and wider, or you added less to make it maybe smaller. All right? So let's switch back over to our swatch. All right, so here's my swatch. We're going to pretend like it's a full-size scarf. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn. And I'm going to bring in another color just so you can see what I'm doing. And this is the color I used on my full size. All right, so I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to turn my work. And what we're going to do is we're going to be working across the top of our shawl. And this will be where you'll have your ends where you joined your colors. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to evenly half double crochet across. And the best way to get a nice even look is to stitch in the sides of those stitches and try not to stitch in the holes. I'm also stitching over my yarn ends. And I'll do that, and then I'll come back in with my needle and stitch those down. I think it just helps it lay better if we stitch over them a little bit. And then I'll just let that drop, and I'll come back in with my needle and weave that in. Here's where I changed color. So I'm going to lay the purple one across the purple and the pink across the pink. And that's just going to help it not show as much. And I'm going to make a couple stitches over those tails of yarn. And again, I'm going to come back in and weave those in. And I'll just work my way across. Trying to make a nice even row. Now there's not a set number of stitches. You just have to look at it and see if they're laying even. If they're too scrunched up, take them out and separate them a little more. If they're too far apart, then you can take it out and scrunch them up a little more. And again, that's up to your preference. I usually put one in that hole. And we do need to close that up. And we'll do that with our needle when we're done. And so you'll continue to half double crochet evenly across the top of your scarf until you reach the corner. So I've stitched all the way across the top of my swatch. I'm at this first corner here on the side. We're going to chain 1 and stitch a half double crochet right in that same stitch. And that's going to get us around that corner nice and neatly. And this two sides, all we have to do is stitch 1 half double crochet in each stitch. And when we get to the point, we'll do chain 2 and 2 half double crochets. All right, so we're just going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of these stitches, working down to that point. And that's exactly the way you'll do it on your scarf. So I finished the first row of our trim. I half double crocheted evenly across the top. We chained 1 and then we moved down the side, stitching a half double crochet till we reached the chain 2 space. half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet in that chain 2 space, and then half double crochets back up. And then we chained 1 and joined to our first half double crochet. Now I cut my yarn because I'm going to add a new color. You can stay with the same color or you can change colors. It's up to you. I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to chain 2. And now we're going to turn to the front of our work because this is the front where we have all those indentations, where we stitched those half double crochets, okay? Because we want to be working on the front of our work on this row. And all we're going to do is stitch a half double crochet in each of the half double crochets that we just stitched. So we'll work all the way down. We'll stitch 2, chain 2 and 2 half double crochets in the chain 2 space. We'll stitch all the way back up. Half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet in the corner, and then we'll half double crochet all the way across the top. And this is going to give us a nice trim for our scarf, and then we'll add the last part of our trim. All right, we're not stitching in the back loops, we're just stitching 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets, and we're working all the way around our scarf. So I have stitched that second row of half double crochets all the way around my swatch, and again, this is a swatch. Your scarf's going to be much bigger. All right, and so the last row, we're only going to be stitching across the bottom. We're not going to stitch across the top. And I'm going to change colors again. And I'm going to bring in my brown. And I did this because I want to have a lot of colors on this particular scarf. You do not have to change colors where I do. Again, the color changes are not in the written pattern because it's up to you how often you want to change colors. All right, so what we're going to do is we're only going to stitch down the 2 sides of our scarf, not across the top. And this is the front, and so we're turning back down this side. We came all the way around the front, and now we're coming back down. I'm going to chain 3. In this first stitch, I'm going to stitch 2 double crochets. We're going to skip the next 2 and slip stitch in the next. And you can see how it kind of pulls it over to a point. Chain 3, 2 double crochets in that same stitch. 1, 2, skip the next 2 and slip stitch in the next. And that's how we'll do the trim. Let me bring my camera in closer. All right, so I've slip stitched and then chain 3. Now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in that same stitch. Skip the next 2, slip stitch in the next, and chain 3. Then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in that same stitch. And it makes these nice little peaks. They're more of a point than they are a shell. Skip the next 2 and slip stitch in the next. And so you'll work these all the way down to the point. Then you'll go around the point and then all the way back up the second side and tie off over here. We won't do them across the top of our scarf. The last thing you're going to need on your scarf, if you want, it is optional, you don't have to do this, is the button loop. And the way you do that is you're going to join to that 3rd stitch from where you started. and you're going to chain 8 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Snug that down there. All right, so we've chained 8. You're going to skip those 2 and go right at the base of where we started our peak trim. All right, and you'll slip stitch, chain 1, and then you'll turn, and you'll go right in this loop and stitch 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then you'll join back where you started. And then, of course, we'll have to weave those in. And I've got a few other ones here where I changed colors that I need to weave in as well. But that's how the button loop is made. So here is my button loop that I attached. And then here is my big, beautiful button that I told you about that I just love. All right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to attach that button on our scarf. Again, the button loop and the button are options. You don't have to do those. But one thing you want to remember is when you're sewing on a button, make sure you go through the stitches and not the holes, or it won't stay secure. And I always start with a tail of yarn there, and I make a loop. Okay, and then I grab my button. And this is probably going to get used quite a bit, so I want to make sure that I do a lot of loops there to keep that secure. And go through stitches. Because I absolutely love this button. I think it's gorgeous. All right, that's on there nice and secure. All right, so we're going to go on the back here. I like to make a little loop there like that. And now we're going to sew or tie, not sew, this button on securely. Do not want this button coming off because I just love it. I do have one more in case I lose it though. I believe actually it came in a pack of 3. Again, I got that on clearance at Hobby Lobby, I think last year or maybe the year before last. They're just super fun big buttons. I've never seen buttons with those big of buttonholes though. There we go, nice and secure. And now I can button my scarf on and wear it lots of different ways like I showed you at the beginning of the video. I just love this scarf. I love how the Vanna's Choice yarn worked up. Let me turn it over so you can see the other side. It's just gorgeous, lots of colors. And these are colors that I had on hand. I don't even know if they're still available, all these mist colors, but I just love them. Rose mist, purple mist, seafoam mist, orange mist, taupe mist. I believe those are the colors, or there might be pink mist. But lots of colors, and I love this trim. I do want to show you how the bottom of this turned out because I just went right around with it, and however they landed, they landed. And so this is our Scrap Happy triangle scarf that can be worn lots of different ways, as a scarf, as a ponchette, as a shawlette, or just a wrap to have with you in a cold restaurant. This is one I'm probably going to keep with me. Every time I make something that I love, I always say I'm going to keep it, and then I end up giving it away. But I absolutely love how simple this is and how pretty it is as well.